Okay, we're online and live, so welcome to everyone around the table, to staff and to Ellen from the news, and welcome to those online. Francois Toomey joining us today, representing iwi, and Councillor Webb, tucked up there in Reefton, I guess. So this is the ordinary meeting of the Buller District Council, 25th of March, and we've got two public speakers today. First, former Mayor Gary Howard, representing the O'Connor home, to give us an update. Over to you, Gary, 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and councillors. I'll sit down because otherwise I start getting nervous and shaking. Today, I just want to give you a very brief outline about where the O'Connor home is, and we are progressing with a 24-bed extension for the O'Connor home to go from 68 beds to 92 beds. You've got a document in front of you, and the first thing is, what is the problem that we have to resolve? If you look at page 3, you will see that 26.3% of the population of Buller District is and that it's approximately higher than the national average. And currently we have 20 people on our waiting list. We've been running 100% full for several months now. And we have 2 people waiting for dementia, 3 for hospital care, 3 for rest care, and 12 that are in the assessment phase. And this problem is just continuing to grow for our Buller District right throughout, whether you're from Reefton or Karamea or from Punakaiki. It's a district-wide problem as we've attracted an aged population. At the same time that we've attracted an aged population, if you look at the top of page 2, you'll see that we have lost 54 beds between the closing of Kinnersley Home, Dunsford Ward, and Zyman House in Reefton. And so we've been swimming against the tide for some time. You know, even when we extend by 24 beds, it still leaves us quite a shortfall, and the waiting list is just going to continue to grow. So that's the problem that we're trying to resolve. And if you quickly have a look at on page 4, the big issue now is that we have people coming and phoning on a weekly basis with family members that need care that we just haven't got a bed for, and the options that Health New Zealand have got go to Christchurch, Timaru, or Ashburton. Now I find that quite difficult dealing with those families, and the 8.5-hour round trip that they have to see that family member. We need people to age and care with dignity and stay in their community. The project is going to cost 13.4 million, and every day it is going to keep on increasing in cost. So the longer we leave it, the worse it is going to get. We have been through how we're going to fund, and at the present stage, the O'Connor home, through its reserves, which are really depreciation reserves that you really want to look at it, we've got 1.7 million. We are prepared to take a loan up to 7 million. And Health New Zealand have been very supportive in providing 1.7 million over 5 years, but the shortfall is $2.5 million, and that's our challenge. We believe that this community, again, will stand up and everyone will support this, that to the tune that we think that 800,000, when we did stage 2, we had 900,000 come from the Buller District, but the economic environment was quite different at that stage. We have to have people such as yourself and council fully on board to assist to get government grants, corporate grants, and for-profit grants when we make those applications. We have a series of meetings with government officials to try and get further funding, but you know, their abilities are very limited, but they're a lot bigger than what our local abilities are. And we just need an awareness about what's going on. We cannot afford to sit on our hands and have somebody say, come back to us when you've raised the money and then start building. Because in another 2 years, the waiting list won't be 20, it'll be 60. You know, our biggest growth is actually in the 85 plus. And then the population of 85 plus doubles within the next 10 years. Absolutely doubles in the Buller district. So today, all I can ask from councillors, please read this document, take the time, have a look where we're at. We're making critical decisions right now. Today we met with finances and we have secured bank finance, but we can only tolerate servicing a bank loan of $7 million. Banks have actually offered us more. The difficulty is that we're in uncertain times and picking an interest rate that may be quite nice today, it won't be there tomorrow. And those fluctuations would absolutely be at the peril of what service we give to our aged care residents. And this creates 25 new and permanent jobs. They don't come and go. When you're in the aged care industry, for every bed you have, the staff number is 1.1 because it's 24/7. So this is an important industry. We turn over 6.5 million, we'll be turning over 10 million. We're a non-profit community trust. There is nobody else coming to help us in aged care. We're filling the gap. So with that, I think I've used my 5 minutes.
Yes, thanks,
and I
Gary.
welcome questions.
Sorry to cut you off, but certainly we'll open it to questions. Any questions for Gary? Any comments? Okay, thanks, Gary. Oh, sorry.
If you're open to comment, absolutely. I must say I'm an interested observer in this, but you know, I just congratulate you for coming along and putting the case to us today, Gary. There's no doubt about it. Gee, I don't know. Many of us sitting around in this room this afternoon will probably end up in one of your beds, and perhaps not too distant future for some of us, a bit longer for others. But you know, I would just encourage that any opportunity you can see where council can add further assistance to you, let us know, please.
Question?
Yep.
Councillor Berry, I did.
Gary, just given that you have secured 7 million of your own, when are you expecting to start the building? Because I guess in the current environment, the sooner you start, the better off you're going to be.
We've targeted the 1st of August, so we have had our final QS on the whole project. When you look at the numbers, 13.4 million, the hard build is really 12.4, it was 12.9, but we've cut back savings 500,000, but fixtures and fittings are just on 900,000. We are preparing tender documents. We have got a very strong and absolute commitment to make this a local build, given the environment that we're in. And so we are working with other organisations to make sure that electricians, builders, plumbers, we can use locally sourced. But the answer to your question is we're absolutely targeting the 1st of August. Now, we're not going to have all funds committed and raised by that time, but we got a contingency that we're working with, and a lot will depend on discussions over the next 3 to 4 weeks that happen within government officials.
Thanks, Gary. Any further questions? Okay, Gary, well, I think that if you need anything from us, we'll do our best to support you however we can. And you've got an email I've got to reply to, I know. So thank you, Gary. It's really good to get the update, and I think I can speak for everybody around the table that we acknowledge how important this is for everybody. Great, thank you. Thanks, Gary. Okay, next we have Mr. Kevin Smith, who would like to speak about letters to the editor questions. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Afternoon all, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Chris, councillors, staff, people watching. Yes, I'll be speaking about letters to the editor. I'm going to be reading from my notes. It's going to be quite brief, and hopefully we'll have some questions afterwards. I've sent an email to the councillors with some photographs, which I believe you've seen. Just sent about an hour ago. So I'll be reading basically what the contents of the email. So Thanks for your time this afternoon. Before Christmas, I spoke of the Lagoima situation and my concerns and experiences there. That made the newspapers, and that's one of the photographs you're seeing. Some of the councillors at that time spoke of other possible approaches and options for questions to be answered. Today, I'd like to talk about the letters to the editor. I believe the situation is worsening. We're seeing things we haven't noticed before that I can recall in previous years. I continue to be experiencing transparency issues, but now I also have some serious trust concerns. I've provided screen grabs with examples of my letters along with the BDC response. I don't want to get distracted with the dredge and the service request topics here, but that is what I've been working on in recent months, even some years. Basically, we are seeing questions pretty much ignored. Any answers I do receive are nothing like my knowledge of the topics. Some of the answers I consider to be insulting to my intelligence. If we believe the BDZ versions, we should have seen the barge, the Manahau, operating before Christmas, and the dredge, the Kawatere, heading back to Wanganui. That's the last the public heard on both of those. I am asking questions for good reason. I do expect proper and correct replies. The ratepayers are seeing those replies. It's there in the newspaper. So I will ask again my question. What avenues are available to the ratepayer to get correct information from this council in a timely manner? Trust and transparency are demonstrated, not just declared. You can't just say you're transparent. We don't believe that. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Kevin. Any questions for Kevin? No? Okay, thanks very much, Kevin, and we'll come back to you.
Sorry, questions or comments?
Oh, you can make a comment, right?
Yeah, no, well, I'd just like to thank you, Kevin. I mean, it's obviously an issue of real concern in our community. People want answers, and I think there's a reasonable expectation that where possible, those answers will be provided in a timely fashion.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate that.
Have a good afternoon.
Okay, thanks for coming. Okay, with the completion of the public forum, I'll declare the meeting open. Again, it's the ordinary meeting of the Buller District Council, starting at 3:30 PM this afternoon, or a little bit later after that forum. It's Wednesday, the 25th of March, 2025. We're at the Clock Tower Chambers in Westport. So the first item on the agenda is apologies, and I stand to be corrected. I don't think we've got any apologies. And certainly a warm welcome to Francois Toomey, who is joining us for the first time today. Thank you, Francois. Okay, so in terms of the apologies, there being no apologies have been received, no request for leave of absence. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor O'Keefe. Seconder, Councillor Reynolds. Any discussion? Shouldn't be. No. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Okay, the second item on the agenda is members' interests. Okay, the draft recommendation that members disclose any financial or non-financial interest in any of the agenda items. Does anybody have anything to declare? Okay, there being none. Do we have a mover for that motion? Deputy Mayor. Seconder. Councillor Hawes. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's carried. Who's that being? Is that me? Excuse me a minute. Thanks, Captain. Okay, so that's that one there. On to the next item on the agenda is 3.1, confirmation of minutes. prepared by Simon. The draft recommendation the council receive and confirm the minutes from the ordinary council meeting of the 25th of February 2026 and the extraordinary council meeting of the 18th of March 2026. Moved by councillor Hawes. Seconded by councillor Curnow. Thank you. Is there any discussion or debate? Councillor Reilly.
Yes, as you're aware, I was an apology for the 25th of February, but I was in attendance on the 18th of March. So the way the recommendation is at the moment, either I abstain or decline, because I cannot say yes to the 25th of February because I wasn't in attendance.
Thank you, councillor Caitlin.
Did you review the meeting on YouTube? No.
Sorry, can I
Yes.
ask that? What was that question then?
So did you review the meeting on YouTube, the live stream?
I've seen the video, yes, but that doesn't constitute my being in attendance and therefore able to say that the minutes are correct.
Okay, thanks.
That's my understanding.
Thank you, councillor. Caitlin, can you propose an amendment to what we've got here based on that?
I would recommend that you just vote them separately.
Okay. So you're talking about the extraordinary meeting or the council meeting, Colin? Council meeting. Okay. So draft recommendation being, hopefully I can get this right for you. The council received and confirmed the public minutes from the ordinary council meeting 25th of February 2026.
Yep, so
Been moved and seconded.
Mover and you second are happy for them to be split?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, just help me out here. So we've,
We've moved and seconded to send vote on that one.
okay, that's fine. All those in favour? Those against? Thanks, Colin. And the second one, extraordinary council meeting 18th of March 2026, the council received and confirmed the public minutes. Any questions? We'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, we need a mover for that.
No, you've got mover
Got
and
it.
seconder.
Okay, all those in favour? Those against? All? Okay, so that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 4.1 is the action points report prepared by Simon Pickford, and the draft recommendation the council receives the action points report for information. Simon, have you got any comment for that?
No, happy to take questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Simon? Councillor Curnow?
Sort of a matter arising from the 25th of February 2026, and my apologies, by the way, if I've missed something. Brent gave an update on the reserve management plan, and it was expected that the update would be presented to council in March. Just wondering, I might have missed something, just wondering what the progress is on that.
Thank you, councillor. Yes, through the chair, the draft reserve management plan is complete. The paper has been written, however, it was a little bit late to get into this council meeting. It is scheduled for a workshop on the 15th of April, followed by council meeting late April.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brent. Any other questions? Okay, so do we have a mover to receive the action points report for information? Councillor O'Keefe, seconded by? Seconder, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's carried. The next item on the agenda, let's skip there. 5.1, debt management report for the 28th of February. This was prepared by Hannah, Manager of Finance.
Sorry. Yeah, who's this?
Yeah, Leslie, yeah. Okay, so any questions on that for Leslie? Councillor Reynolds.
Just a question regarding the graph given to us shows the level of debt being quite level until 2021. But since that date, it's on an increasing basis. Has any work been done to predict what problems that's going to cause for council in the future?
Yeah, clearly it would cause a cash flow issue. What we have to do is just follow the debt management process. There's not a lot we can do. We do keep regular cash flow forecasts to ensure that we've got enough money to be able to pay our bills. And a facility at the bank as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Are there any other questions? Okay, could I have a mover then that the debt management report dated 25th of March 2026 be received? Councillor Hawes, seconded by Councillor Reynolds. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favour? Those against? Okay, thank you. That's carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is item 5.2, financial performance report, year-to-date February 2026. Again, Leslie will answer any questions you may have on that. The draft recommendation is that the financial report dated 25th of March be received. Are there any questions?
Through the chair, can I just point out that this report is from the end of February, so we've been able to get a more current report for you. So it's actually a current report, and we're hoping that going forward we'll be able to continue with that.
Thanks, Leslie. Deputy Mayor?
Leslie, I just had a question, and it could be to do with the report format still. It was around the roading variance of 1.6 million in expenditure, and it just said that the reason for this was a phasing misalignment. And so I would have presumed that when the year-end date would have reflected that, it would have kind of evened out, but it didn't. Is that just the report still not functioning as it should?
Again, it's we don't have a budgeting reporting tool, so it's very difficult to put a forecast in that actually is meaningful. Because what we need to do is to speak to budget managers. Because in finance, we can only tell you this variance. We can't tell you what's going to happen at year end. That is the budget manager. And to do that's very time consuming, labour intensive. So what we've had to do is a mathematical format. And sometimes that does mean that it doesn't look right at the end of the year.
Yes.
If we had more time, we would be able to spend more time on it and get it.
So I guess then my clarification is, when we say it's a phasing misalignment, can we presume that will level out at the end of the year, that it should come right, because it's just around funding and spending? I mean, yeah.
So I'm getting a nod from infrastructure here that they believe that will actually come to budget at the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you. I've asked a few questions around this paper, but they're not critical to any decisions that might be needed today. I'm sure that Leslie will come back to me when she has time to deal with that. It might be, Leslie, sit down for 5 or 10 minutes, might be a bit easier. Thanks. Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, Councillor Hingston. Yeah, just a word where when you put your hand up, because of the angle of your camera, we can't really see whether you're voting or not.
How's that?
Yeah, that's good. Thanks a lot. Okay, thank you. Okay, there being no further questions, the draft recommendation, the financial performance report dated 25th of March 26 be received. Do I have a mover for that? Deputy Mayor. Seconder. Councillor Hawes. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Kerno.
I'm going to vote against this only because I have a major reservation about an issue that's come to light, and this is around rents charged to some of our tenants. I can't see anywhere else in the papers today where I can register my protest and alarm at that situation. We've done a lot of work at this table to bring rates down to single figures, and yet there has been no discussion around the rents that we charge to some of our most vulnerable citizens, far in excess of the rate of inflation. So hence because I can see no other opportunity to voice my displeasure, I will voice it by voting against this motion.
Thank you, Ray. I just point out, appreciate you making your comments and voicing that. That is not relevant to what we have on the agenda item at the moment, but your points have been heard. Thank you. Are there any further discussion points? No. Okay. Having said that, we've got a mover and a seconder. We'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's really good, Dave. Those against? Okay, thanks, Ray. Name recorded. Okay, the next item on the agenda, 5.3 investments and borrowings, as at the 28th of February, 2026. I guess, Leslie, you'll ask any questions there may be. Okay, does anybody have any questions? The recommendation is that the investments and borrowing report dated 25th of March 26 be received. Are there any questions?
Through the chair, can I just point out that we have repaid 2.4 million of the debt since this report was written.
Thank you. No questions? Okay. Can I have a mover then that the investments borrowing report dated 25th of March 26 be received? Councillor O'Keefe. Seconded. Councillor Hawes. Any further discussion? Okay, there being no further discussion, we'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's passed unanimously. Okay, agenda item 6.1, update to the 2026 committee meeting calendar. Draft recommendation, we'll take that as read. Maybe somebody would like to speak to this. Is that Chrissy? Is that you, or perhaps Caitlin? Or Simon?
Apologies, I didn't write this report, but I'm quite sure that I can cover off most questions. So there was just with the new committee chair for risk and audit, she was unable to make some of the meetings scheduled in the December's council resolution where we set the meetings for the following 12 months. So this is just asking for resolution to be able to move some of those dates as outlined in the report. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Chrissy. Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I guess my question is, has any consideration been given in regard to other opportunities to hold some of these meetings? I will refer specifically to risk and audit, changed from 10 June to 24th of June. Some councillors will be aware that I sent an email to our chief executive, as yet unanswered, in regard to a question raised by Councillor Reedy and at our last meeting, and whereby he asked about forecasting completion of capital projects, and he was told at the time that there'd be no opportunity to carry out that forecast, but we would get information at the next RAC meeting. my email was along the lines of, don't we think that's a bit late? Almost at the end of the financial year. And if we adopt this recommendation, in fact, we'll be getting that information with only 6 days left before the close of financial year. I don't think that's sufficient
Thanks.
notice.
Thanks, councillor. So your question,
My question is, has consideration been given to other dates? Perhaps an earlier date or another way of conveying that information to elected members.
thanks, councillor. Who can answer that?
Can we come back to that?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to come back. Thanks for your question, councillor. Staff will come back to us on that. Councillor Webb. Councillor Webb.
Just a question when looking at the calendar. Is there a reason why there's a council meeting on the 30th of June and not the 1st of July? Why is it on a Tuesday?
That, through the chair, that's for the adoption of the annual plan, councillor.
Thank you, Simon.
Is that an extraordinary meeting?
I believe so, yes. Or is it not? Is it? No, it's,
Set as an ordinary meeting to prevent an extraordinary meeting needing to be held for adoption of the annual plan.
thanks, Pat.
Okay, thank you. One supplementary, Linda, if you have it. All good? Okay, thanks for that, Linda. Okay, are there any further questions? Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm happy to read this out or take it as read, or should we go through it? Number 1, 2, 3, 4, happy to be advised. Okay,
Just a question on Councillor Rutherford. You did say that the information would come through a different channel in the meeting. If that was possible, were you happy if that arrived in a more timely, the information arrived in a more timely fashion?
Well, just around.
Well, obviously I'd like it in a more timely fashion, given the significance of uncompleted capital works. We have a particular interest in that at this table, and to get it with 6 days before the end of the financial.
Yeah, just clarifying that for my vote, whether we take the votes separate or whether we you're happy to accept the meeting schedule.
okay, Chrissy.
Just to confirm, so the reason the 24th is the option on the table is because the new independent chair of the Risk and Audit Committee wasn't available on either the 10th or the 17th.
Okay. You have a question, Shane?
Well, I guess it goes back to the question, can we get the completion of the capital works project earlier than that?
So this is sitting with IS. So Brent, I think that email came through to IS for a response. It just needs an update to that capital works program.
I'm not aware of that one, so I'll follow that up tomorrow.
Okay, so staff will come back to us tomorrow. Councillor O'Keefe.
Do we just need to make a wee amendment to 2 with some extra wording around staff coming back with?
Well, I think that'll be covered off in minutes, but I'll be guided on that. What is the proper treatment for it?
Well, if we're voting on it,
Mhm.
I think we should put some extra wording around point 2, just so that's clarified.
Okay, so number 2, how about approves moving the Risk and Audit Committee meeting scheduled for the 10th of June 2026 to the 24th of June 2026, subject to staff responding as outlined, whatever that was. How does that sound? We put in the right words for that. Staff responding within the next week to the information being sought.
Capital works, isn't it?
Capital works.
Yeah. Completion of capital works information.
Does that sound reasonable, Brent, from your point of view? Another week?
Yeah,
To respond to
I'm
the
sorry,
question.
I'm not aware of email into IS. So is this about, do you want to know before that June meeting, at what percentage of capital works delivery has been executed?
forecast.
Okay,
There's an updated forecast.
right, so we can give you an updated forecast in the next week or so as to where we think we will be in that time frame.
Okay,
Your worship, potentially a compromise, we could potentially, through, I'm talking on behalf of Anthony here, but table it at the May council meeting as an update. If that would work
okay.
outside of that. So
Councillor
that,
Rutherford?
it means the agenda can stay as is.
Yeah, look, as a concerned elected member, and I guess I was picking up from my colleague, councillor Reedy's initial concerns, that would suit me. However, it didn't quite answer the question I asked earlier, and Chrissy came back and said that the independent chair is not available on the 17th or whatever. My question was looking at an earlier date, not a later one. Has an earlier date been explored with the chair of RAC?
Let me just confer, no, I'll just confer with Caitlin because she's been doing the liaison and I'll just come back to you shortly.
Okay, thanks for that. So as far as number 2 is concerned, picking up on what Brent said, or Simon Bastian said about presenting that at the May council meeting. That's acceptable? Okay, if we can have a bit of wording around that. Caitlin?
Do you want a recommendation for it, or would you like?
Okay, approves moving the Risk and Audit Committee meeting scheduled for the 10th of June, blah, blah, at 5:30 to 24th of June, 2026 at 5:30 PM. The capital works reforecast to be tabled with council to the May 26th council meeting. Does that sound good? Okay, so based on that, amendment.
So you need to vote. You need a mover and a seconder for your amendment.
Okay, so councillor Keith, thank you, has moved. Councillor Hawes, seconded. Is there any further discussion? No, all those in favour? Those against? Okay, thank you, that's carried. Okay, so we'll go back to draft recommendation 1, 3 and 4. 1 being approves moving the community committee meeting scheduled for 10th of June to the 24th of June. Number 3 approves moving the council community meeting scheduled for the 9th of September to the 16th of September. And number 4 approves moving the Risk and Audit Committee meeting scheduled for the 9th of September to the 16th of September 26 at 5:30 PM.
Number 5, notes that these changes from the meeting calendar
Where's
adopted by
that?
council on the 17th of December.
Is that okay? Not there. Okay, do you want to read that out then?
Yep, so 5 is notes that these changes amend the meeting calendar adopted by council on the 17th of December 2025.
Okay. Would somebody like to move? Deputy Mayor? Seconded. Councillor O'Keefe. Any further discussion? No. All those in favour? Those against? Councillor Reynolds? Did that just not print out, Caitlin? Yeah. Okay, the next agenda item, 6.2, Risk and Audit Independent Chair Voting Rights, prepared by Simon Pickford. Draft recommendation being that council approves granting full voting rights to the independent chair of the Risk and Audit Committee and directs the CEO to update the committee terms of reference to reflect this change. Would you like to say anything on that, Simon?
No, that is the question.
Okay. Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I believe this is, these recommendations are a wee bit preemptive. In the first place, under our current committee setup, is if everyone attends, we will never have a tie because there'll be 11 votes at the table, so we won't need the independent chair to necessarily have a vote. But more concerning to me is that at our last REC meeting, the independent chair recommended a restructuring of the Risk and Audit Committee. I don't see any reference to that in any of this background note.
Okay, councillor, that's because the agenda item is, I understand what you're saying. And that's something we'll have to get to. This is specifically in terms of the vote, which is pretty, I understand, customary practice, but I do understand where you're coming from.
Excuse me, can you let me finish, Mr. Mayor? So again, I'm saying this would be totally preemptive until such time as that other discussion takes place.
Thanks, Councillor. Simon, do you have a response to that?
So I guess through the chair, we're waiting on the proposal for the change to the RAP makeup. So when we bring that back, we can bring this decision back to the table, have to align the table at that until that point.
Some preliminary discussions have been had, but we're yet to involve Rachel in those. She's been quite busy lately. Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Hingston.
Can I just ask a question of Simon? Why would it matter whether the committee's restructured or not? Was it not normal practice before to have the chair to have a vote? Like, what difference is the size of the
No
committee make?
difference at all, but I'm just responding to the councillor. If that's what councillor is suggesting, then I'm just saying that's what you could do, but this is historically, this is what the chairs had that voting right.
Can I just then ask Councillor Rutherford to clarify what his concerns are with doing this when it's normal practice?
Well, it hasn't been normal practice for our council, that the independent chair has not had voting rights. So it is a change to current practice. And I'm not hugely, I don't feel hugely uncomfortable about it, but I just think it's preemptive at this stage until we reconsider the structure of the committee, which would include things such as, does the independent chair have voting rights?
Okay,
I believe it could be handled.
Thanks, Councillor. We're in question time, but Councillor Hingston.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question for the staff. Is this going to cost any extra money? I mean, for example, we were expecting after each RAC meeting that there would be a report, and I think they were like every 3 months.
Yeah, but just to bring it back to the question is it going to cost any more money by giving the chair voting?
Yeah, because I see that there's more meetings that she's going to need to attend if she's got full voting rights. Would we expect her to attend every council meeting, for example, or every third council meeting?
Through the chair, for clarity, councillor, so what we're asking in this paper is that the independent chair of all risk and audit has a vote at that committee, not that she attends other meetings. So she's been contracted to do those four RAC meetings a year, and that's all we're concerned about here.
Okay, thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
Other questions? No. Okay, so the draft recommendation on the table is council approves granting full voting rights to the independent chair, the Risk and Audit Committee, 2 directs the CEO to update the committee terms of reference to reflect this change. There has been some discussion already. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Webb.
I will be moving to not grant the independent chair full voting rights. That's my motion on the table.
Well, the motion on the table.
Well, no one's moved it. That's a draft recommendation.
Is there a second? Okay, Councillor.
Great. So I'll be moving. The reason why I'm moving this because she is not an elected member, so she is therefore not been elected by the public to have voting rights. If she would like voting rights, she needs to go through the elected member process. Like Councillor Rutherford has set out, we've got an odd number at the moment, therefore we don't have a casting vote in our standing orders, so therefore that would mean that we would become an even number. And I would argue, what difference to her input into the meetings would it make whether she has a vote or not? She's there to chair the meetings as an independent chair and use that experience for the chair role. And again, last triennium we had an independent chair. They did not have casting votes, and Or voting, sorry, not casting votes. They didn't have voting rights. So therefore, why all of a sudden we got through 3 years with an independent chair with no voting rights? Are we going to change the status quo?
Yes, Linda, sorry to interrupt. Can we just ask Simon to address a couple of those things?
So through the chair, so Sharon Roach did have voting rights around the table. Am I correct? Yeah, yeah, I believe she did. And just in terms of, currently the Risk and Audit Committee, if Francois would attend that and have voting rights, that would mean we'd have 12 members who are able to vote if everyone is in attendance. So if we can just clarify, team, that Sharon did have voting rights in the last committee. I believe she did. Yes, we believe she did.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So we've got Linda as moved.
Just to clarify that, so why does the paper not reflect that? Why is that not written in the paper then? If that's the correct, I'm sure why the paper doesn't state that the last independent chair had voting rights. So is that a mistake in the paper?
It's not a mistake, councillor. It is just pointing out that traditionally we would have had voting rights for the chair of Risk and Audit, and it should have been done as part of the appointment of the independent chair, but it was an oversight in that paper, so this was a tidy up.
Thank you. Okay, so Councillor Webb has, well, we haven't had a seconder to Councillor Webb's. We have, who was that? Councillor Reynolds seconded. Sorry, Paul, I didn't pick that up. Okay, so yes, we'll have discussion. Councillor Hawes.
Yeah, I mean, we've been told that this is pretty much standard practice. I hear Councillor Rutherford's concerns around the fact that, you know, this may be putting the cart before the horse or whatever, that we did have the discussion at the last risk and audit that that would be best to reduce the size of it down to, I believe it might give me some clarity around the numbers, but it's somewhere between 3 and 5 is what the numbers normally are. And that makes common sense, really. If it was 3 or 5, it would be an odd number. The chair would be part of that. I don't have a problem with it, voting for it, have voting rights. I don't see a problem with leaving it until we restructure the committee either, so.
Thanks, Councillor. So from the Mayor's point of view, I'll be voting against Linda's motion. I have no issue or difficulty with the chair having voting rights. Councillor Webb.
Just a clarification, just looking at an old RAC agenda and looking at present. So we have 13 members present at one of the agendas and the votes are all out of 12. So I'm not sure where the 13 members, I just want clarification whether she had voting rights or not, because looking at an old RAC agenda and counting up that there are 13 people present and there's only all motions are out of 12.
Thanks, Councillor. Are you able to what agenda you're looking at?
Well, I just picked a RAC agenda from 2024. So I just want total clarification that that's right, that she had voting rights.
Can you just point us to the agenda you're looking at? Give us a date.
Just pick any agenda.
No, you said you were looking.
13th of March 2024. That was the meeting minutes.
Okay,
so I'm just wanting clarification, because in that one, if I look at another one, it will probably be exactly the same.
Okay, thanks for that. Caitlin will look that up.
Can I just, through the chair, Sharon has confirmed that she did vote at RAC.
Thanks for that. Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Do we have a seconder for that? Okay, full second to that. Thank you. Are there any further discussion? Councillor Reynolds?
Just in reading the agenda, point 2, directs the CEO to update the committee terms of reference, led me to believe that we'd have to have a change to give the RAC chair voting rights.
My recollection, and I stand to be corrected, was that this was an oversight in the original appointment. Had it not been an oversight, then the last paper that came to recommend this chair being appointed, this question, or this would have been part of that paper put forward. That's correct.
So I believe a lot in old adages, and the ones that if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. So number 2 led me to believe that the chair did not have voting rights. That's why the terms of reference would need changing if we approve the chair. So I was quite happy to leave it the way it was. No, but that's what I say. Point
Okay,
2.
thanks, councillor.
Okay.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, we need to put it to the vote then. Okay, can you repeat Linda's motion, please, Caitlin?
That council does not grant the independent chair of the Risk and Audit Committee voting rights.
Okay, that was moved by Linda and seconded by councillor Reynolds. All those in favour? Those against?
Hang on.
Sorry, all those in favour again?
Please. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Those against?
Motion is carried.
Motion is carried. Okay, thank you. Okay. Oh, sorry, councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. As the motion was carried, and obviously now the rest of this doesn't apply, but can I make a suggestion that when the makeup of the Risk and Audit Committee is revisited, which I understand is something that is happening, you may want to bring that back to the table.
Yeah, I think under the circumstances, that's very sensible. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to item 6.3, Reefton Campground electrical works, prepared by Brent. The draft recommendation, approve an allocation of up to 40,000 plus GST from the Reserves Contribution Fund to complete the electrical safety upgrade at the Reefton Campground. Brent, would you like to speak to this at all or just take questions?
I'm happy to take questions, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Brent? Councillor Sampson?
Why was this not put in the original rebuild if this was identified beforehand? And if it wasn't identified beforehand, the calculation should have been made as to whether the new buildings, the present power system would.
Yeah, if we can come back, you've got 2 or 3 questions there. Can we come back, just focus on the first one there? Sorry? You don't have a question?
What, you want me to ask a question?
You ran 2 or 3 questions into one. I'm just wondering, we can ask Brent each question and give him a chance to respond.
Was the calculation as to the ability of the present wiring not made with the new rebuild?
Yep, good question, Rosie, thank you. The campground upgrade, the new accommodation campground upgrade, that was all new electrical gear going into new switchboards. We became aware that they'd done other work, and this is what's in the paper, probably 6 months ago, and it was how do we get that into an annual plan. They really needed to have done a submission to the annual plan. That didn't happen. And this, from an IS perspective, is an issue that needs solving. They are, as the paper says, they don't have sufficient funding. And it gets this place safe, basically.
Thanks, Brent. Rosalie, do you have another one? No, Thank you, councillor O'Keefe.
I'd like to move the recommendation.
Okay, moved by councillor O'Keefe, seconded by councillor Hawes. Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Councillor Rutherford.
thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, I'll be voting in favour. I visited the campground when we had the mill undertaking earlier this year. It was very evident that this was a major issue for the campground. And I think to Rosalie's point, councillor Sampson's point, it's not really related to the new build. It's in relation to some of the existing sites. Clearly, the campground will be much improved if we go ahead and have this work undertaken. So I'll be voting in favour.
Thanks, councillor. Councillor Hawes.
Yeah, I just want to expand on that slightly. I've been the council law appointee to the committee for the last few months. And it was concerning to me that there'd been identified high risk safety issues around underground wiring installations. That they had done the worst of it, what they deemed to be some of the worst of it. They identified and spent the money that they had dealing with those issues. This is another issue that, well, once the investigation started to go deeper, found these safety issues and around this other part of the underground installations. And so to the point where some of the wiring, like all of these things identified are not just, they're not improvements at all. They're all identified safety risk removal. And as such, I would urge people to clearly vote for this, because otherwise it's shutting that portion of the campground down, I should imagine.
Thanks, councillor. We've got a comment. Christy, would you like to make a comment before we go to councillor Reedy?
Thank you
And
for
then
the opportunity. Just wanted to say through the chair, and I'm sure councillor Webb and councillor Hawes can attest to it, but the subcommittee in Reefton worked really, really hard to keep that campground running. It has been raised. It would be highly appreciated if it could be funded through this way. So I know that this means a great deal for a group of volunteers that do a lot of work for their local community.
Okay, thank you. And councillor Reedy, and then councillor Sampson. And then councillor Hampston.
I note the report from MS Moore, I believe it was back in 2024. From my memory, we've now gone through 2025, and this issue's never been raised before. Even when we talked about it, and I understand what Brent's saying, that even when we talked about the additional cabins coming through, nobody raised the point about the health and safety potential issues with the existing electrics.
Thank you, councillor. Brent, do you want to add anything further to that?
I haven't spoken for 3 minutes yet.
Oh, sorry, Colin, carry on.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
For me, sure, there is a health and safety aspect to it, but I have to look at what's going on beforehand. Nothing. Okay. So instead of a grant coming out of the reserves grant, I would like to see this as an advance, a loan to the, because it's a commercial operation, not a reserves as such. It's a commercial operation. They're making money out of this. They're paying rent. Yes. I'd like to see it as a loan rather than a funded by the community.
Thanks, councillor. Can you comment, Brent?
I can only respond with the campground project was well underway, I would say 2 years ago. We became aware, I mean, the campground had that electrical report, as you're quite right, just over a year ago. They recognised the seriousness of it and dealt with those major issues first. And I think they had it in mind that they would complete the work. It's just cost a little bit more than they've got available.
Okay, you finished, Brent? Yep, I see
perhaps.
Linda's coming up. We've got a bit of a line up here. We've got Rosalie, councillor Sampson, councillor Hingston, and then councillor Webb, if I've got that correct. But prior to that, I'll have my say, and that is that I will be supporting the motion. Despite what councillor Reedy raises, which is, I think, a very good point. This is a health and safety issue. Okay, so councillor Sampson.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Reedy brought up some of what I was going to say. Health and safety first and foremost, and I don't knock that at all. It has to be done. But I think we're having different rules for different people. Because at the moment, Mokanui have got $100,000 account that the auditors picked up, and that was a loan about 4 or 5 years ago for the work to be done on their camping ground or subcommittee, because it was a commercial operation. So I fully support the 40,000, but I would suggest it needs to be a loan. Otherwise, we're having different rules for different people. And I think our staff will know that the Mokanui subcommittee have got a letter saying that 100,000, the auditors picked it up, needs to be repaid.
Thanks, councillor. Have we got councillor Hingston?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that these things are on these costs additional are on the back end of a project that I had no visibility of when it was in progress. But as a general rule, I'll support the funding of it. And I just point out that in most projects you have cost overruns, unforeseen expenses, and that's why we have contingencies put in place. And that's something to bear in mind going forward with future projects, is we should always have a healthy contingency, and especially with infrastructure projects, we should always expect that there'll be hidden costs of things that arise as soon as you sort of dig a piece of turf over. So, you know, we can lament as much that we should have known this beforehand. That's true, we should have. But we are where we are. We're not where we hope to be. So with that in mind, I'd support it. And I also have a sympathy towards supporting a loan as opposed to a straight out funding process because of the points raised by the other councillors. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. Okay, councillor Webb.
Just coming back to a few issues. So this has been an issue before the project of the, not to get it intertwined. So the 10 cabins that were built, this issue was pre that whether those cabins were built or not, like this was an ongoing issue. And the subcommittee has raised it several times, gone through the liaison officer, and they've been told, like every other hall, wait for our asset management plans to be finished. Then we would then decide how the reserve contribution funds would be spent. So I guess now that it's nearing that time, that's why it's come to the fold again, and citing that they've done as much as they can and they need this rest of this money. And bear in mind, this is a council asset. It's a council-owned asset with managers there. So it's not someone leasing the camping ground and getting the revenue. The revenue is directly coming back to council. It's a council-owned asset. So I'm fully in support of using our reserve contribution funds for something like this, upgrading its kind of overdue maintenance so that camping ground can continue to function in a safe way, and it will only benefit us as a region knowing that how many people use that camping ground and if you don't have the facilities and you had to shut down a portion of it, like that would be detrimental to our ratepayers, because we're obviously relying on revenue coming from that. So I'd be fully in support of funding this contribution.
Thanks, councillor Webb. Deputy Mayor.
I think what this paper clearly shows is the lack of processes that we have around our reserves, camping grounds and halls. And, if this is repairs and maintenance, I do believe it's an upgrade, but it should be going into the annual plan process. But I think our processes and our connections with our reserves and campgrounds have been poor. And I think that the work that's being done right now with Tony, Chrissy, Dave, around how we actually streamline this process is going to be invaluable, because this shows, it highlights risk. And I will be supporting it. I think this work needs to be done. I think that it should have been part of R&M previously, that I know that they have done a lot of this work at cost. So I will be supporting it, but it does highlight some of the issues that we need to iron out.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillor O'Keefe.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Any further discussion? Councillor Curnow.
Well, I've heard discussion around whether or not this should be regarded as a straight allocation or as a loan, but I haven't heard an amendment to the substantive motion. I mean, where are we? Is there going to be an amendment? Is someone going to move an amendment?
We haven't voted on the motion that's been put on the mover and seconder to the motion that's here now.
Yep. But there's no proposed amendment at this stage. Am I right?
Councillor Sampson.
Can I move the amendment or not to say that the $40,000 be a loan in line with what's already been set before, rather than a grant?
Thanks. So, Caitlin. Just give Caitlin a minute to catch up.
So you need to move on second if your amendment.
Okay, so would you like to read out that amendment?
So it would be, the amendment is it's $40,000 of a loan rather than a grant, which will be reworded in the substantive motion. You need to, vote on that amendment.
Okay, a question: as the mover and seconder agreed to the amendment?
Oh, second.
No,
I don't, because this campground is already dealing with the loans repayments. It's already worked out how it survives through paying these cabin builds, which people have an idea that they are, in some respects, helping out a mine. It's not quite the case. These cabin builds help out the campground long term. It was an upgrade to the chance to upgrade the campgrounds at a very affordable price to the council. Otherwise, they wouldn't have happened. It would have still been living with old cabins, etc. They revert back to the campground for use as part of the campground in the near future. But these are loan requirements, repayments, heavy loan requirements that come back into that.
Okay, excuse me, councillor, I've just been reminded that we're discussing the amendment.
Yeah, but I'm saying that I don't think that by putting another loan, an extra loan on top of the loans, is going to be beneficial to the committee in being able to meet the repayment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the amendment has not been.
So the amendment, then we'll move over.
So the amendment got a move.
I moved it.
Okay, second. Councillor Reedy. Yes.
Can I know what the money for? What was it for a capital project?
I'll speak on that. Yes, it was to do with the new toilet and shower block build. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer. So isn't there a difference between a loan for capital works as opposed to repairs and maintenance? Well, in my mind, there is.
Councillor Sampson.
But it just, the loan was exactly that, and it was capital, because and it was debated at the time because it was a commercial operation. So it's all very well if this goes ahead. It just means Mokanui can apply for that loan to the syndicate.
Chrissy.
I can just add, so the work that Deputy Mayor Barry spoke to earlier, so there's almost an action hit list that we're working on with the governance subcommittee with councillors O'Keefe and councillors Hawes. We could add into that as well just some guidance around how we apply to the where each of them falls. So how it goes for a loan, how it goes for the application potentially once a year, how it goes to the reserve contribution fund. So further to the discussion around the table, we can actually get some clarification as to how we do that next, added to the governance list.
Okay, thanks for that, Chrissy. Okay, so Rosalie's made an amendment that's been seconded. Councillor Reedy.
Deputy Mayor Barry sort of touched on it before. She's raised the point about R&M, and which there's already been agreement that reserve contributions will not be used for R&M, only for capital works. I think I'm correct in that. And basically the reserves is for open air and the like, and maybe for re-roofing, you know, in terms of the halls and what have you. Now, is this electrical work that we're talking about, is it an upgrade, i.e. capital, or is it basically maintenance to sort out the fact that they have got whatever it is in terms of electrical speed? I believe it's more in line with
Brent's ready to answer that one, I think, Councillor.
Yeah, I think it meets the determination of capital, so capital repair or improvement. The work will last more than 5 years. It's worth more than 5,000. It meets the same treatment I'd expect as a roof. It's not a. It has a lifetime.
Thank you, Brent. Okay, we need to move on and wrap this up. Councillor Hawes, quickly.
Yeah, I mean, this is an identified area of the camp that is well away from where these cabins are. That's been identified as needing a complete replacement of electrical installation. In other words, you know, there's areas there, as I pointed out earlier on to you all, where there's non-compliant wiring travelling through unshielded within a depth of a few inches underground, completely non-compliant. This is not something that this committee has turned a blind eye to in maintenance over the years. This is something that was uncovered during their, they commissioned a report in terms of trying to determine safety. They were having issues with tripping of various circuits, etc., a lot of electrical downtime happening. And so they commissioned a report to go in and see what was happening. And in this area, it's determined that it's a complete replacement. It's a capital upgrades. And as our staff kindly point out, that's what happens. And if you think back to what we just voted last council meeting around roads, we were asked to fund the capital depreciation and put it away in the bank. So that's the first time it's come back to council there. And in this instance, that was applied through to campgrounds too, that it was be a capital upgrade at some point in the future, which would be.
Thanks, Councillor. I think you're probably, if I dare to suggest, going over a bit of old ground there, but I understand. How are we sitting, Caitlin? Okay, just one more. Paul?
I was meant that a report exists. Apart from that, there's such a figure in here, $40,000. The report exists. My question is, why didn't we see it? So we know the scope of the work rather than just $40,000.
Thanks, Councillor. Okay, we need to move on. We've got an amendment on the table that has been.
Do we have an answer to that question? Where is the report?
Well, we've had question time, but I'll put it to Brent.
We do have the report. It's basically a sector by sector summary of the condition, what needs to be replaced, and identifying those high risk areas which they've dealt with. The paper talks to 40,000. That is an upper of their estimates. And the paper says up to 40,000. We will keep a very close look at that, and we're looking through their procurement as well. So we will get this work quoted, and it will not exceed.
Thank you. Yes, so we need to vote. We've had a good discussion, so we need to take the vote on Rosalie's, councillor Sampson's amendment.
So the amendment would be to substitute in $40,000 as a loan as opposed to approving $40,000.
Okay, everybody understand what the, okay, we'll take the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Okay, the motion is lost. So we come back to the original draft recommendation, and that's
Moved by councillor Keith,
Moved.
seconded by councillor Hawkes.
correct. So if there's, I think we've had plenty of discussion on that, so we'll put that to the vote. That is approve allocation of up to 40,000 plus up to 40,000 plus GST from the reserves contribution fund to complete the electrical safety upgrades at the Reefton campground. Okay, all those in favour? Those against?
Abstain, name recorded, please.
Paul? Okay. Thank you. I believe that's carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda, item 6.4. This is to do with the WSCCO, the West Coast Water Constitution, shareholders agreement and board appointment process. Okay, I'll take the draft recommendations as read. Is there somebody to speak to this at all, Simon?
Sorry, right.
Okay. Okay. 5 minutes. Okay, so if anybody has questions, we'll kick those off with John, please. We'll take the recommendations as read. Sorry? If somebody would like to suggest that. Oh, sorry, Linda. Councillor Webb.
So just a question about the director appointment subcommittee and appointing Mayor Russell as that person. So will those decisions come back at a council level for us to put input into those director appointments?
My understanding.
Or will it be solely going to Mayor Russell to make that decision with no consultation with Buller District Councillors?
My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, staff was that our decision will come back to council decision on the recommendations. No. Teresa's just walked in. Handle this one. Okay, Teresa, the question's been asked by Councillor Webb, is that if the mayor is on the committee insofar as the I think the interviewing Linda is concerned.
So the appointment process, so will any of consideration for any of the directors and that come back to full council for us to advise our appointed person, or is that solely at the mayor's discretion and he makes that decision without any consultation with the full council?
It's our expectation that the working group, I'm so sorry, I thought I was due on after 5. It's our expectation that the working group will provide sufficient guidance into the process ahead of time. And so once the interviewing is underway, then it should be just for the mayor to be able to be part of that process. I think it could get quite complicated if we broadened it out again.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay. Are there any further questions? Deputy Mayor?
Well, I just had some questions about the shareholders agreement that I'd sent to around some corrections that I thought were needed, Therese, in the appointment of the independent chair, and the references were incorrect. Like they referenced 6.3, whatever it was, A, C, and F, and it should have been 6.4. There was no 6.3 A, C, A, and so that was one of mine. Has that been corrected? And the other one was around the global, the risk, and actually, is there a chance for that to be amended down the line? As in, at the moment, it's set on water service connections. Can it be changed to water and wastewater connections?
Okay, Shane, so are you clear on what the questions were?
Yeah, I am. So thanks, Shane, because you did provide that to me in advance. So in terms of that minor, in all honesty, because we got a second version of it out, and we would be able to make sure that that correction was made if it wasn't in the version that's gone to you. So that is literally just would have been due to making a minor amendment at the end, probably around when we were adding in the additional information to ensure that the shareholders committee could determine the chair when it's not independent. So we can make that modification if it's not there. In terms of your other question, that allowance is just the way in which it could be done. And in the shareholders agreement, it gives the ability for the shareholders representative forum to decide. There are a number of decisions that are made, which, so we have the shareholdings, part B shares, that are based on what you've all agreed, or the councillors in the previous term already agreed, which is based on the value of assets. This and other things tend to be based on other ways, but as a shareholders representative forum, of which you have 3 members, you will be able to decide that. So the way the agreement is written gives the ability for the shareholders to decide that at the right time. It's likely that by then you would have better information to inform it in a way that would be fair, and the right information can be provided by the water company.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, are there any further questions? Okay, so I'll put the motion on the table that a draft recommendation of council, number 1, Services Council Controlled Organisation, 2, approves the constitution of the West Coast Water Services Council Controlled Organisation. Number 3, authorises Mayor Russell and Deputy Mayor Shane Barry as alternate to execute the shareholders agreement on behalf of the council, and delegate to the Mayor and Chief Executive the power to agree to any minor amendments to the shareholders agreement prior to the execution by council. Number 4, approves the establishment of a joint director appointment subcommittee and delegates to the subcommittee the authority to appoint the establishment board of directors for the WSCCA, and appoints Mayor Russell to the joint director appointment subcommittee and confirms the appointment of Francois Toomey on behalf of Runanga o Waiwai and Paul Medjawar of Te Ranga Makawawa, and notes that the mayors of Bray and Westland district councils are also to be appointed by other shareholding councils. Okay, having said that, is there any further, do I have a mover on that? I've moved. Tony, you seconded. Okay, is there any further discussion? Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I will be voting against all of these recommendations. I think that my position on this is well known at this table. I believe voting in favour of these will just be endorsing the approval of this organisation, which I am vehemently against. I still maintain that we should have a modified WSDP delivered in-house, and I'm even more dismayed when I see that within the documentation that I read that there's a 10-year minimum before we can even withdraw from it. That concerns me even further, so I will be voting against.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Reynolds.
Reiterating Councillor Rutherford's sentiment, I was totally against this. The council signing our ratepayers' water assets into a limited liability company. And here we are a month down the track, and we've got talk of constitutions and shareholders' agreements, and who's read them or who knows what's in them. Rules are being made and being discussed here, where people obviously don't know what those rules are.
Thank you,
So
councillor.
I'm voting against it because I believe it's totally against the interests of our ratepayers to belong to it. And I'm thankful for this opportunity to say it again, that I believe that, and I'll be voting against it. Thank you.
Trace, can I ask the question, in terms of the shareholder, the constitution and the shareholders agreement, has that been distributed to councillors?
So I can just say yes, in terms of it was provided ahead of this meeting. In terms of the way that we've worked to develop these, there was an agreement by this council in December to put 2 members onto a working group. We also had a meeting where every elected member was invited to it at the end of January. And that was the agreed way to make sure that you all had an ability to ask questions and understand the process. And we had 2 workshops in February to work through it, with an ability to sort of share between yourselves to ensure that any feedback was provided back. So yes, we have followed a pretty stringent process to ensure that we received all the feedback and have had an opportunities for questions. I should say we also have the ability to pull Mike in, who's our lawyer from Simpson Grierson. He's on hand if we need him.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll give councillor Reynolds the right to reply to that. It would seem that the information that you didn't think was available has been readily available.
So those documents, are they entered into our documents on tap?
Yes.
They're on the agenda as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've got councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is discussion time.
Yes.
Okay, so you've moved 1 through 5. There's some quite specific items in there that I believe could be levied up a little bit. And 1, 2 and 3 I'm okay with. As for, there's comment about before, I'm allowed discussion to 3 minutes apparently. There has been discussion about being against the combined CCO, and as everyone knows, I voted against it. Now, of course, it's set in concrete. We've had a gun against our head. If we do not go ahead with this CCO, then it's going to cost the bullet ratepayer at least $1,600 a day, times 5, which is 8,000 a week. Now, we won't just get away with this in 1 week, but it'll be over a number of weeks. And then, where's the end of the road? Well, the end of the road is still going to be, you shall be part of the CCO. And in the meantime, of course, the ratepayer has had to incur additional costs to pay the central government for a facilitator. So, despite my objections, and I remember Teresa saying that when we now start, I can't remember the exact words, but when we meet, we're all together. Now, I have to be together, and I'm going to be together because I've got a gun at my head. So I'm going to obey and abide by what has been prescribed. I agree with the shareholders' agreement. I agree with the Constitution. So I'm happy to go ahead with those. That's where I stand at the moment.
Thank you.
On behalf of the ratepayer.
Thank you, councillor. We've got the Deputy Mayor and then councillor Hingston.
I'm not sure whether some of our councillors attended the meeting with DIA or not, but what was made clearly obvious to all of us is that an in-house business unit would not be accepted, that they considered we would not have the financial sustainability nor a local CCO, that we would not be able to borrow the amount of money needed, and that it wouldn't possibly be a commissioner put on Colin, that they might have government intervention. And so I just want to make it very clear that just because people voted against the motion does not mean that all of us around this table are not concerned about this. The affordability is a huge concern for all of us. But like Colin, we are obliged now, or when we were obliged from last year, to go down this pathway. And we need to be moving forward on it. The longer we sit back and wait for stuff to happen or delay stuff, the higher the cost is going to get. And saying that, I think it's going to get so high next year that we probably won't be able to do it anymore.
Thank you, Deputy. Councillor Hingston. Councillor Hingston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just getting my IT to support things. I concur with all that's been said. I think the affordability issue is a real issue, and from a strategic perspective, I think we've passed a decision point about whether or not we're going to have a West Coast Water Services Council controlled organisation. That's the way I feel. That's what I believe. I think that ship has sailed, and now we have to go down the path of a West Coast Water Services Council controlled organisation. So to me, the main thing is making it affordable for the ratepayer. And as we found out last time, it was $1,000 more for the next best option other than this. And I note the comments made about the other options, but they, when they were costed out by our council, they were more expensive to the ratepayers. So that's why I approve, or I am in support of going forward with the West Coast Services Council controlled organisation. And I'm for that organisation, and with our strategic partners being Westland and Grey. I have the same concerns, but I think we can address those concerns by making sure that the Constitution and all the agreements is clear and precise, so they benefit not only us, but also the other council partners and iwi partner. I have an issue that we approve the Constitution, because this is since it was given to me last week, I think, and I've had very little time to actually take it in and understand it. For something like this that I think is legally binding, if I'm not incorrect, I'd like to have a legal briefing on all of these major points and sit down and go through it. So I'd be reluctant to approve the Constitution as it stands. And I've got another issue, is I have a problem with 5, and it comes down to proportional representation. And it may be an unpopular statement, but I think this appointments need to be proportionate. And I think the mayors and one iwi rep would be more proportionate and more representative of the community. I don't understand why we have 2 iwi reps, and for that,
Councillor, that's 3 minutes. Can you just hold for a minute?
Point of order, we have up to 5 minutes. Are you suggesting a change in the standing orders, Mr. Mayor?
I sent an email out before this meeting, Linda. It's not a change in the standing orders. It's how I said that this meeting would be conducted this afternoon.
Well, then you need to change the standing orders, because we've already adopted those standing orders. So we've already actually.
My understanding is applying the standing order.
Which section are you applying?
That's at the chair's prerogative in terms of how many minutes are permitted for replies. And my understanding is this was instituted as well by the former mayor of the last council.
So can you clarify my point of order? What are you ruling, that you're changing the standing orders?
Hang on, I'm just checking it, Linda. Okay. You learn something every day. My understanding was I had the prerogative to say whether that was 2 or 3 or 5 minutes. but Caitlin's pointed out to me, I acknowledge your point. Okay, thank you for that.
So what's your ruling?
My ruling is that it will be 5 minutes.
Does that give
So
you
they
the?
can carry on.
Sorry, repeat. You spoke of one.
So are you ruling that councillor Hingston can carry on up to 5
So,
minutes? Is that your rule?
Councillor,
Thank
you
you.
may carry on.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Yeah, so I mean, I pretty much made my points, but I think I'm in favour of the WSCCO. I understand the reservations, but from a strategic perspective going forward, this has to be the way, and it's pretty much the other options. I agree with Councillor Barry. They're pretty much off the table after our discussions with DIA. So that said, I think we can sharpen up on the Constitution, and I would feel more comfortable with a briefing. And I would also like to get some clarification about why we have the two iwi reps rather than one iwi rep. I think one mayor from each district is good, and I think the iwi representation, whoever it's from, would be covered with one iwi rep. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor.
You want me to jump in there, Chris, and answer that quickly?
Yeah, yes, I think Teresa wants to make a comment too, Francois, but
I'll just put me in line and come to me at the end. Yeah, okay.
Okay, I was going to invite you after Teresa responded. Thanks.
So in terms of the board hiring subcommittee, it was a decision made by all of the members of the working group. And yes, it is based on representation. We have 2 Runanga and 3 councils. And whilst on the shareholders representative forum and working group, we have 3 members of each council. For this subcommittee, it ensures there's actually representation, but actually those 5 members are not there to represent themselves. They are there to get the right board for Coast Waters. And there will be a terms of reference in place for the group that ensures that they work together for the good of the entity, not about where the representation is. But to be clear, everyone in the working group agreed that 5, 2 iwi reps, 3 mayors was the right number. So over to Francois.
Thank you, Francois.
Cool. Look, hey, thank you. So firstly, look, hey, thanks guys for letting me join this council meeting. And just you know, like in terms of everyone's view about this whole CCO, look, you know, for my sins, I'm on a few others, and they see me as Switzerland for some ungodly reason. But anyway, everyone has been through the same pain. Everyone's got similar views, and what you know we've tended to focus on now is understanding that I like the. I shouldn't probably say this, but the old gun to the head probably does ring a bell. However, what we've focused on now is making sure we get the rest of this process right, making sure we get all these constitutions documentations on point, and making sure we get the right people in the right positions to make sure this thing is successful. So that's the point we're at now. So I just want to make that clear. In terms of the iwi representation, I think people need to understand that the Tūranga are independent, separate statutory authority bodies with clear boundaries. We're similar to councils. In the iwi space, we're just like councils. Naito has 18 councils around the South Island. So we've got a clear boundary. Makafuel represents Southland and Wairau represents up the top here in grey. So we're completely different and completely separate, just like you councillors. So we're quite staunch on our boundary and our views, just as you are when it comes to Grey and Westland. We're exactly the same. So we can't be one. One of us can't sit there and represent the other, just like none of you can represent Grey or Westland. So it's a similar thing, Dave. So and apart from that, it doesn't change anything in terms of the makeup around the table. There's still only 2 of us, and there's 4 others. So if I hope that's clear, we're completely separate organisations, different statutory authorities in different areas, just like councils.
Thank you, Francois. Now, I think we've got Simpson Grierson available, who we can ask to respond to the legalities around the shareholders agreement and the constitution. Whereabouts?
So Teresa's message Is it Mike will be coming?
Yeah, so I have both Mike Wakefield and Anastasia available. Anastasia was involved more in the shareholding part. They are both available, and I have messaged Mike to see if he's able to come online.
Okay, thank you.
We can carry on with other questions, maybe in the interim.
Okay, we'll just wait for them to come. I think, Colin, you had a question. Did you come in? Or not?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, I think I was going to respond to councillor Hingston, but I think if Mike's coming on board, then we'll just wait for him to talk. Hello, Mike. Yeah, so let's go through that.
Okay, thanks, Colin. Welcome, Mike. Councillor Hingston's raised a question concerning, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, a legal view or eye over the Constitution and the shareholders' agreement insofar as Buller District Council's position is concerned. Have I reflected that correctly, Dave?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Basically, if this is a legally binding document and how we go forward with it as to determine our behaviour and how everything's put together.
Thank you. Okay, over to you, Michael.
It's quite an interesting question. I suppose what I can say to you now is that these documents are the product of a number of working groups and discussions that have been had between the three councils and, in fact, your Mana Whenua partners. In terms of all of the water organisation establishment projects, they have largely started from the same position, using the DIA template constitution and the DIA template shareholder agreement that the government produced to try and provide some initial structure around how these arrangements would be put together. So to that extent, there was a consistent starting point. In terms of the constitution, it's a fairly, I'm not going to say boring, but uniform document in terms of its role. It is there to try and set the framework for how the company will operate in terms of the number of directors that it has, its function as a water organisation, and its rules of operation, I suppose. The shareholders' agreement serves a different purpose. It's an agreement between the three councils that have decided to form this water organisation, and its fundamental role is to provide a framework for your collective decision-making and engagement with the company, which, as you know, is largely through the committee that's been formed to provide the direct engagement with the board of the water organisation at certain points in time and confer on that committee a substantive function in terms of inputting onto various documents that the water organisation prepares. So I think with that context in mind, these documents have been prepared after having received feedback from the three councils at various points in time, and they reflect the consensus view around what is appropriate to document in these rules for the board, plus also rules of engagement for the shareholders. I don't know what more you're looking for at this point in time, but I suppose if the question was more from your side, Councillor Hingston, about whether these documents have been prepared with a view to protecting or informing Buller District Council's position, my response to that would be there has been a collective exercise that's been gone through to develop these documents. And so, yes, to a certain extent, all of the councils have had the opportunity to assist with the preparation.
Thanks.
Yeah, that answers it. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Councillor Hingston. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, Caitlin, that Councillor Hawes had moved to work through these. Councillor?
I would move that we take them one at a time. We have people that have expressed concerns about various ones, and I would hate to see us reach an impasse that is of a making that isn't necessary to happen. So I move that way over.
Okay. I moved it. Yes. Yep. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so we're going to take them one at a time. Councillor Hingston.
Sorry, I was just going to second that motion.
Oh, okay. I thought you were waving at me.
Always.
Okay. So we'll go, councillor Hawes.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to it. The reason why I'm speaking here, and I just want to make this absolutely clear, this is no attempt to undermine an iwi representation. I fully appreciate that we have that. I fully endorse that. But what I fail to see is that we need to recognise here that we're dealing with assets, with delivery assets, installations of water treatment plants, water pipes, sewage treatment plants, etc., large scale infrastructural assets. And in terms of that, I know that Paul Madrak represents Markfield down south, and that's fine, but we're not talking about representation in terms of water at all. We're only talking about in terms of delivering water to households that's been
Sorry to interrupt, Councillor Hawes. Can you change your microphone? We can't hear you. It's just cutting out. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, that's fine. It's been giving me trouble before too, thanks, Linda. So this is an extension of people's houses. It's not necessarily, it's not something separate. It's exactly the same in an urban environment. It's only more extensive, and you're a collective group of people that install a collective asset. So you're talking about management of collective assets of people that has been established over time by those groups of people for a collective purpose. Now, I question what amount of asset value is down enhanced in terms of these treatment plants, water systems, etc., etc. And I'll say to you that it is very, very minor compared to the rest of the coast, and it should be able to be dealt with by representation through iwi, Francois, further up. So I'm happy to go ahead I'm not happy to go ahead. I'm in the same position as Phil Rutherford, but I understand the necessity to go ahead with this. But I question why appointing directors to manage assets on behalf of people should be slanted in the way that we are being faced with. Okay?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Keefe? Okay. Councillor Reading?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to move 1, 2 and 3 together. Or unless someone's already done that.
There's already a motion being seconded, Colin. Okay, do we need any more discussion on, let me go back to 1, because the motion was to go through each one separately. So if there's no further discussion on that, I'll put that in particular to the vote, and that is that we're going to go through 1 through 5 separately. Okay, all those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. So we'll go through one at a time. The first being, where are we, Caitlin? Council approves the shareholders agreement for the West Coast Water Services Council Controlled Organisation.
We voted on that.
No. Take them separately. Okay, so I'm looking for a mover on that.
You've got a mover and a seconder for all 5.
All of them. All 5 of them? Yeah.
You
Okay.
just need to vote on each
On
one.
each vote. Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah.
You learn something every day. Okay, so number 1, all those in favour? Those against? Okay, thank you. That's carried. Number 2, approves the constitution for the West Coast Water Services Council controlled organisation. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Number 3, authorise Mayor Russell and Deputy Mayor Shane Barry as alternate to execute the shareholders' agreement on behalf of the council and delegate to the Mayor and Chief Executive the power to agree to any minor amendments to the shareholders' agreement prior to execution by council. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's carried. Names recorded. Okay. Thank you. Number 4, approves the establishment of a joint director appointment subcommittee and delegates to that subcommittee the authority to appoint the establishment board of directors for the WSCCO. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you, that's passed. Number 5, appoints Mayor Russell to the Joint Director Appointment Subcommittee and confirms the appointment of Francois Tumai on behalf of and I will gloss over that. The Westport News will probably report it tomorrow. And Paul Madrick, and notes that the mayors of the Grey and Westland district councils are also to be appointed by the other shareholding councils. All those in favour?
Sorry, I'm not speaking to that one.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Ray.
You didn't
Carry on.
Yeah. So I just want to respond to Councillor Hall's comments. We are voting here on the membership of a director appointment subcommittee. This is not the board that will govern this organisation going into the future, as I understand it. So I stand to be corrected. For that reason, I support the comments made by Francois that in terms of the perspective that he's presenting, that is quite a reasonable approach to make. That for the appointment of the directors subcommittee, the joint director appointment subcommittee, I endorse having separate representation from each of the women.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Reid?
Sorry, I want to, just a comment made then, and that in terms of the directors, we're looking at appointing, the subcommittee is going to appoint directors from day 0, I believe Mike's referred to the day 0 when we kickstart, right through until such time that they rotate. Now, the comment was made that it was only for a short time or whatever, but this is the big thing. Whoever this five party appoint, they are the ones who will be sitting around the board table. Am I correct or incorrect?
My understanding is you're correct. Michael? Teresa? No, Michael's not registered.
Yeah, I can respond to that. Yeah, so this subcommittee is a temporary thing. So this is a one-off thing. There is an opportunity to put in that more formally, but we would expect that to be done at a later date. Yes, in terms of the board, this is not just an establishment board. This is a board that we'd expect to be in place probably for 3 years. We have allowed for 5 board members overall. We're expecting 3 now, and then 2 to be put in at a later stage. So yes, this board, it is very important to get the board right.
Thank you, Teresa.
And sorry, the Zoom had frozen on me, and I only heard the Michael. So apologies if I was silent there. But yes, Teresa's captured the situation. accurately there. This is a subcommittee that's there to appoint the establishment board. And it'll be the establishment board that will then continue to provide the leadership for the new organisation.
Thanks, Michael.
So my interpretation then is substantially correct.
Yes. Deputy Mayor, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to clarify, because Colin, you said from day zero, and I was thinking, day zero has been referred to as the 1st of July next year, but these board members are in place from as soon as they're appointed, aren't they?
But I wonder if I can just jump in here, Teresa. I see you're about to speak. Yes. So in water organisation lingo, there's been day one, there's been day two, there's even been day zero. But day one is perceived or known as the day that the water organisation will accept and take over responsibility for provision of water services. All of the period leading up to day one is started from day zero, which is generally when the new company is incorporated. And at that point, you'll see directors start to come on board, which will help the organisation get ready to accept the transfer from the council. So at some point, there will be a day zero. It'll then turn into day one and then day two onwards. So yes, sorry if that was confusing.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Is there any further discussion, Councillor Hingston?
So I'll be voting against this, but and my main, I come back to my main reason is I don't think it's proportionate. I would like to see something in the order of 2 per council if we're going to have 2 iwi reps. That's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. Okay, I think we've had quite a bit of discussion, so without further ado, we'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? Those against?
Abstain, thank you.
So you're against name recorded, both? You're both against name recorded?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, where are we at? Motion lost? Okay, the motion's lost.
I'd like to put a motion to the table that we appoint Mayor Russell to the Joint Director Appointment Subcommittee, confirms the appointment of Francois Tumai on behalf of Te Rena o Ngāti Waewae, and notes that mayors of Grey and Western districts are also to be appointed by the other shareholding. I'd like to move that way.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that? Deputy Mayor? Okay, is there any discussion? Councillor Reedy?
Yeah, this item was discussed. It was raised. I was there when Paul Madgerick said, how come Francois in, but not me? So the discussion at the time now, I cannot remember if that discussion, Mr. Mayor, was when all councillors from Buller went visited, or if it was one other time. I cannot recall. However, the discussion, it was raised, and we never had a vote as such, but it was genuinely accepted that there would be 2 iwi reps on whatever is formed. At the time, I wasn't aware that, and there was nothing specific about a director appointment subcommittee. I don't recall that but I'm happy to be corrected because it's very early in the morning for me then. But I certainly remember Paul raising the matter. Okay, so was it to do with the joint director appointment subcommittee? I don't know. That's why I'm abstaining, because I tend to agree that I know what. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm getting a bit confused here. I'm aware of what Teresa was saying, that everybody sitting around that table is there to sit and speak without bias. However, bias forms a lot of, it appears at different times. At the moment, I see two Iwi reps and the Westland rep, Westland Mayor. There's three for Westland. I see Gray. I think Francois on Gray, and we've got the Gray Mayor. That's two. We have the BDC Mayor. Now, I understand Francois has taken over from Ned in that regard, but he doesn't sit on our council, as far as I'm aware. So he sits on the committees. So I'm actually I'm concerned about the possibility of bias and the fact that you, Mr. Mayor, could come up with something and be outvoted by 3-2 because of the iwi because of the iwi vote. Is that okay or not? I don't know, because to begin with, you are an elected representative rather than appointed representative. So for me, it's a big difference, but I'm happy to be corrected.
Thanks, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
I actually voted for the initial motion, which was to have two Runanga representatives. We need to move this to, we need to move a motion to be able to move forward. So therefore I'm supporting Councillor Hawes in his motion to appoint one Runanga representative and that being Francois. We need to be able to move forward with this. The longer we stall, the longer it takes, and the more trust we lose with our other councils. So therefore, I'm supporting that movement, Dave's motion.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Kerner.
I find it difficult to support the motion. I don't know that we have the prerogative to determine who the representative, the combined representative of the two Runanga would be. That surely would be the prerogative. If there was only going to be one representative from both Runanga, it would be up to the Runanga to find a mechanism to make that appointment. But I will say that I think we have moved on to we're on tricky ground here. Yeah, we're in a very awkward situation, I believe, in terms of our relationships with iwi.
Thank you. Can I ask Francois if you'd like to respond?
Yeah, hey, listen, I can understand where you're all coming from, especially not understanding the difference between both Runanga, but and it was I think it was Dave that highlighted, or no, it was actually Colin, you, around perception with, me being on Westland and Paul being on Westland, Helen. So, once you said that, it does make you think that way. And I don't blame us for thinking like that. All I can say is that the position that I'm in, I don't want to be in. I probably would, if I can just take a minute to explain how I ended up in this debacle, was it was the process that I was trying to achieve for the Runanga was going on to one council for a year, bringing my exec through, putting them on there, and then going to the next council. 6 months later, I'm on all three, and it's been our goal forever to be sitting around tables to assist in these decision-making processes. So I had no choice but to go on them all. I don't want to be on them all, but I'm on them because I can't let this position, I can't let this moment go. So this has caused this type of issue across all the councils. Okay, so I think a fair way forward is, like you've said, is that you've got a recommendation on the table that you support one iwi representative. You say it's me, and then it goes away to be sorted out. You've done your job. You don't agree with two iwi reps, that's fine, understand completely, that's your prerogative. I'd put that forward, and then it's up to us to sort it out. Okay, so it doesn't change my view of the world with you guys. You're bully, you're on my takiwa at the end of the day. It's my place, so I'm fine with it. And me and Paul and the others will just have to sort the shit out. So that's probably the best way forward, is to do what you're doing. Yeah.
Thanks, Francois. Councillor Hawes.
Yeah, just speaking in regard to my moving that, it is the way forward. I make that not likely, and I acknowledge Francois not likely. Francois represents Hokitika, particularly in Greymouth, large areas of infrastructure. The reason why I'm more than comfortable and wish that is because this is primarily an infrastructure issue. Don't start expanding it out into something that it's not. This is about management of extension of people's homes. This is exactly the same as my septic tank and my water tank. This is what we're talking about. It's just that they're collective. So I'm more than happy to, I've moved that way, recognising that this is an infrastructure issue. And that's why I moved that way.
Thank you. Okay, I think that we've had the discussion, so we'll put it to the vote, although, yes.
Sorry, as seconder of the motion, I just want to check. So Francois, I just want to clarify something with you because Dave did say that that you be the representative, but should we be saying that we approve one representative and leave it to both Runa and Anna to decide who that is?
No, what Dave says is correct, and you need to back it up with the infrastructure conversation. Okay, the rationale for it is that's the rationale for it. Don't worry about you put my name out there. Me and Paul bang heads all the time. So if that's the way you feel, put it out there, backed up with Dave's input on what he was saying, because it's 100% right, by the way. So that's what goes out, and then it's sorted out somewhere else. You've done your job. Well done.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, we're ready to move on. Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Okay, that's carried. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Francois, Michael, Teresa. Much appreciated. Okay, we're going to take a break now and adjourn for, let's say, 15 minutes. We'll be back at 5 to 6. Thank you. Okay, we're back live. Welcome back, Francois, Linda. We've got everybody here. We're just waiting for councillor Hingston. I'm sure he'll appear in a few seconds. Shall we proceed?
Yeah, Karen.
Okay, so next item on the agenda, item 7.1, the Mayor's monthly update. Further refined this month. I'm happy to take questions or any suggestions on how that might be improved further. Nothing? Councillor O'Keefe.
I will move.
Moved by councillor O'Keefe, seconded by councillor Curnow. Any discussion? Councillor Sampson.
Just on outward correspondence.
Mhm.
You've got a reply to the lady about the dogs. But the other two contributors, public forum that day, there was no reply. So did you not reply to them or?
I didn't reply to them formally, no. I've spoken to, well, messaged with one of them, but no, I didn't do a formal reply.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we've got a mover and seconder. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Against? Okay, thank you. That's carried. Move on to agenda item 8.1, Chief Executive Officer's report. Simon, are you happy to take questions or take it as read?
Take it as read.
Okay, the recommendation being that Chief Executive Officer's report dated 25th of March 26. Being received. Okay, I'm happy to move that. Seconded by councillor Hawes. Any discussion? Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thanks for your report, Simon. It's pretty comprehensive. We'll quickly reference our elected members to sale and supply of alcohol. Simon's got it pretty right currently before the House, but you may or may not know that they are intending in this current term to introduce further changes to the sale and supply of alcohol to make some significant changes. I guess we'll be seeing that very shortly coming through the House, Simon, and it does have implications for our licensing. So,
thanks, councillor. Councillor Webb. Councillor Webb.
Just a correction in there on page 184. Just to correct Graham Naylon's name. It's spelled Naylon as Neylon. And just to endorse from the District Licensing Committee that we thank him for his years of service and because he's obviously formally resigned now. And thank you for a lot of the work as done, over the years has been voluntary. So I just want to endorse as the new chair of the District Licensing Committee. Thank you for your service, and just to say that's about it.
Thank you, councillor.
Apologies for the spelling mistake, councillor.
Councillor Curnow.
Look, apologies for not asking this, not notifying this question earlier, and I'd be happy if it's not possible to answer it straight away. But I am very impressed by the increased patronage of the library over the last 4 months of this year compared to the same period 12 months ago. I'm wondering if there's any analysis on why that why the patronage has increased so much.
Sorry, councillor, we don't have that, Chrissy.
I don't have that. That's certainly something I know that the library team, they work really hard to be as engaging as possible with our community. They do lots of initiatives. So more than happy to ask them and to get a response to you, councillor.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, councillor Curnow. Councillor Reynolds.
I picked up an error in the long-term plan with the interest rate charged on the loan for separating of stormwater, wastewater, Cutters Beach, which is going to significantly affect the targeted rate. Should that have been included in the report and something brought back to council to modify that with corrected figures?
Don?
I don't believe that's in the report specifically. No.
No, the question was, should it be in the report, that sort of area being picked up that is going to significantly
Through
affect?
the chair, I think you've asked that question directly of staff, so we were going to respond to you. Yeah.
Okay, so that response will come back to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brent. Okay, I'd just like to acknowledge and thank Simon and his team for all of the work that we don't see being done, particularly around you know, the water company, not to mention the local government reform, which hasn't had as much work done, but you know, requires quite a bit of attention. So I just ask councillors to acknowledge the hard work that's been put in there by Simon and his staff, and acknowledge that this is not business as usual as such. Okay, having said that, we'll put that to the vote. Right, a reply. Oh, well, good. Thanks, Tony. Okay, all those in favour? Those against? Okay, nobody against? No, nobody abstained? Okay, thank you, that's carried. Just a message through from Councillor Hingston. He's had to attend another appointment, so he passes his apologies that he won't be with us for the rest of this meeting. Okay, the next agenda item is 9.1, elected members verbal update. And I invite Chrissy to make a few comments around how we're doing this and how we might be able to improve from the next meeting onwards.
Thank you, Mayor Russell. Just in line with our standing orders, with the verbal updates, it doesn't give our community an opportunity to know what's going to be discussed from the groups that you're all involved in, and it doesn't sometimes, it's not the most transparent way for us to be discussing these things. So with agreement from next month, we'll be inviting elected members to supply your updates to the various groups that you sit on through a brief paragraph that can be included in the agenda. And then the verbal updates around the table will be from exception, and it also gives opportunities for question and answers. So it's just to be more transparent with our community, and also so it's clearer for them to see what will be discussed and track the progress that's being made.
Okay, so that's you know, not a motion at all, that's a suggestion coming from staffers. Are there any questions or any comments regarding that, Deputy Mayor?
Just the timeline around the updates, Chrissy, if the agenda has to be out by the Friday, when is whoever, Caitlin, going to be wanting the verbal updates by?
We'll email you through, because there's a few of you that sit on the different groups, so we'll email you through, and it might be between you, you provide a few lines collectively, and we'll just give you the deadlines there. If it does meet, if it does go beyond deadline, that might be when you provide a verbal update at the meeting, but just trying to get it a bit more transparent for our community as to what we're discussing at these meetings.
Councillor Kerner?
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. And just request that we maybe get some, a bit like Shane's, request that we get some guidelines to set the parameters of how this is going to work. But it's a very good idea. Thank you.
Okay, that'd be great. Anybody else got any feedback on that, Colin?
Yeah, just a quick question. You mentioned through the chair, the legislation. Chrissy, was it something about the LGA or the Guima?
Not quite. It's more in line with our standing orders. It will touch on the Guima. Anything that we're discussing in the meeting should be noted. And sometimes there's things that are not as transparent as we'd like them to be. So it's just increasing our transparency.
Okay. Everybody cool with that? Yeah. Okay, thanks very much. So we'll move on to the list as it stands at the moment and handle it verbally. Okay, so from my point of view, Chair, CE, Review and Performance Committee, there's nothing to report. We haven't progressed anything there. I'm not sure that we were due to, Simon. No, okay. Westport Rating District Joint Committee. I'll invite one of the other councillors to talk to that. Councillor Rutherford, you might be okay to talk to that.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, there has been a meeting of the joint committee since we last met in full council. There's not really a lot to update you on that you're not already aware of through press releases from the regional council and from the Westport Resilience Group. They're keeping the community pretty up to date with where they are with applying for consents for the ongoing work program. I did ask a question, and I will let you know the result of that. I asked the question around rating implication, and I was pleasantly surprised. I should have known this anyway, but I found out that as the capital works proceed, the regional council will not be rating for interest and repayment of loans until such time as they are drawn down to complete the work. What will happen, and by agreement with the fund providers, the government contribution will be the first use of the first money off the rent, and it won't be till that's exhausted that they start pulling down the loan for the local contribution. That's my understanding. So up until when that happens, they will only be rating for repairs and maintenance of the assets that are in place. So, you know, in other words, you won't see the major impact for another year or so yet. You will, however, also know that the regional council has already signalled that they are going to be struggling a little bit in terms of the overall funding for this flood protection program. There's no determination yet on how it will proceed, whether there'll be works left aside or whether there'll be attempt to raise further funds, whether by way of a local share or other fundraising mechanisms. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. But I'm sure you'll know that the current climate, our own team will be struggling to, you know, get their work program completed on budget, and just like anyone else in the current climate. So I think that's about it.
Okay, thanks, councillor. That's an excellent summary. Thank you for that. We've got local water done well. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
Given, Phil, that they won't start rating until they start drawing down, which probably won't be until the following year's rating, which will probably align with when we first start rating seriously for local water done well as well. Will the regional council, are they going to put out indicative timelines and costs for that year?
Well, look, I understand that'll be part of their LTP process, which they'll be preparing next year. Well, you know, all things being equal, will happen, and it'll be within the LTP.
So in that discussion, then we've talked about LTPs, and I thought about this after we went home, and I just want to bring it up now because I think it is important for us to go through LTP processes, even though they might change, so that we have indicative costs for the future that are comparable to perhaps Unified Council's costs. So that was just a comment I wanted to make around that.
Thank you. Okay, any further questions of councillor Rutherford? No. Okay, thank you. Local water done well. I think we've had, you know, quite a lot of discussion on that, and people know pretty much where we sit, unless there are any questions of Colin, Shane and I who are on that committee. We're happy to take them. Okay, thank you. We'll move on. The Civil Defence Emergency Management Joint Committee. I don't have anything further to report other than, you know, the feedback has been received, and my understanding is that is with the Minister. Simon, is that due for response that I read about mid-year? Tony might be able to. Okay, that was my understanding. So yeah, something like that. Yeah. So really nothing further to report other than the Civil Defence ongoing basis. There have been discussions, and there are going to be further discussions around evacuation from Westport, the use of Briefton, and also coming up over the next few days or week, fuel. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of feedback that we get there in terms of planning. Tony?
Simon, was there any
feedback from the meeting today at 11?
So whether it was, I think you're referring to the joint committee meeting, that's not today, that was Thursday, Friday. Was there a welfare one?
Yeah, I can report on that.
Simon, yeah.
So obviously, there was a joint welfare and recovery session held on behalf of West Coast CDM. So there is a new formed group that has been pulled together to focus on ongoing welfare issues and recovery. That group has just been formed as of today, and the terms of reference have been approved again today. So this includes agencies as well. So there's about 40 people online today talking about various aspects of it. So they're probably going to be meeting every second month in terms of progress, particularly around the welfare space.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks for Tony. Okay, TTBP, Linda. Could you give us an update on that, please?
Nothing really to update, given we're just in our subcommittee groups, which is deciding the committee's position, but given that BDC has appealed or they've joint others appeals, us council, we're not involved in a lot of the subcommittee meetings. I think the next one that we can join is not till September.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Any questions for Linda? Okay, no. Mayors, chairs and iwi. I circulated the minutes from our last meeting. Happy to take questions, and we've got Francois here too, who sits on that committee. I have nothing further to report at this point, other than the fact that on Saturday, mayors, chairs and iwi will be meeting with Ministers Jones and Peters, and two other ministers will be meeting in Hokitika. Then those ministers will be coming to Westport to have discussions here. And we've asked for time to talk about Originaire and a couple of other matters also. So Francois, do you want to add anything as a co-representative on that committee?
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. So it'll be, I think, they are coming to, obviously, to Hokitika to catch up with mayors, chairs and iwi, but, just on the reform stuff and the water stuff that we already all know about. I think the more importantly tomorrow for you guys is definitely the airline issue. They're aware of it, so great. Get some support in that space from them anyway.
That's fine. Thanks, Francois. Councillor Sampson.
Just on the Air Origin position, do we as council have any sort of meeting or discussion on what is going to happen there as far as the air service goes?
I'll pass this over to Chrissy. My understanding is that if by the 27th of March, there's no formal offer or announcement of funding from central government, that Originaire will cease from the 1st of May onwards. So the door, the indication is that the door will be shut. We'll lose the service, but we've asked for time with the ministers to talk further with them when they're here on the weekend. Chrissy, do you have anything to add to that?
Just briefly, because obviously there's some employment implications and also some privacy commercial sensitivities. So there will be a report that will come to council following Originaire formally notifying us if they are going to withdraw their services. So they've given central government until Friday this week. We're expecting formal notification on Monday, and then that will outline our next steps. There will be a paper coming to council that will be in a public excluded session.
Thanks, Chrissy. Councillor Hawes.
Yeah, I just note that, this is obviously going to happen on the table. There's not substantial government support. I think it's unrealistic to think that there will be, because there'll be a lot of other regional areas in the same boat. But what I think we all need to get our head around this table is that we're going to have communities in quite severe stress regarding fuel price rises generally, the way they're affecting their ability to travel, engage services, etc. I think the biggest issue for travel, and for those areas of concern lie between here and Aramea. I think Northern Buller really is the crux, and I think we need to start getting our heads around, if this does close, how we can reprioritise some of the money that we've allocated. There's no point in parking this thing as per the dredge and watching the money go down the drain when we need to address issues that may be facing our communities and other areas. So I want people to go away from here with that in the back of their mind, that we need to start thinking about how we're going to support some of these outlying communities that will need transport solutions.
Thanks, councillor. Okay, any further? Okay, thank you. So we'll move on. Deputy Mayor, Barry, Community Committee, please.
So we haven't had another meeting, of course, but we've been working on, Chrissy and her team have been working on the subcommittee handbook, and that has been drafted and the first iteration is out for approval. There's also we've gone through the process of a code of conduct for our subcommittees, which includes behavioural expectations and an on and offboarding process. So there is a lot of work being done in the background around subcommittees, and there has been, as we've noted today, a lot of risks highlighted and gaps in processes. So from our discussions today and yesterday that we had with Chrissy, we're starting to get some confidence around being able to fill these gaps and have better processes going forward and better lines of communication. So that's been good. At our last meeting, 9,500 was allocated from the Rural Travel Fund to 5 organisations from around the Bola. And then the 50k of revitalisation funding that was returned from EPIC it was moved that it be carried forward to a community-led revitalisation funding round in 26-27. Colin did question whether we could even do that in our terms of reference, and I think that's something that we need to discuss going forward. So yeah, and other than that, destination management meetings are on hold while changes are being considered around local government reform and the role of regional tourism. So yeah, and I'll leave economic development to Ray.
Thanks, Shane. Okay, we'll come back to that, Ray. So that's covered off. So Councillor Webb, Chair, Regulatory Hearings Committee.
Yeah, so I've met with the team a few weeks ago, and they've advised that we're going to have some hearings coming up, one to do with our gambling policy that's been out for consultation. So I'll be calling together some councillors to sit on that hearing coming up in the next month or so. And also there is a hearing coming up to do with an application for some gambling, what do you call them? Machines. So that's the 2 things coming up, and then throughout the year there are other policies, dog control policy, and that will be coming up for review. Yeah, that's basically it. So I'm not sure the best process on how to call that committee together, whether it's an invitation, who's interested. So that's something that probably needs to be clarified. We did bring that up. I think Councillor Rutherford brought that up in the terms of reference for the Regulatory and Hearings Committee about how that is formed when a hearing needs to take place.
Thanks, Linda. And the primary health?
I haven't had a meeting since, no update there.
No update. Okay. TTPP, you've covered that off. And between you and Dave, the Nangahura Community Board.
I'll let Dave take that. Would you like, Dave, anything? I was trying to think back to our meeting, what the main key points were.
Yep.
Have you got a list?
That I can remember something. Yeah, so Community Board, we had several things arose from that. One was dog control issues. We had the local vet Brenda speak at that meeting regarding dog attacks on dogs on one of the walking areas. And that's being addressed with some signage. We've had some concerns raised by community board members since the meeting around things like some of the maintenance issues. I think that that's in hand. We've got a meeting, Councillor Webb and I, with West Reef Buller Holdings coming up in Reefton, just to catch up with them and update some of those things. I think another thing raised internally was around the communication or lack of it with the community board around the increases in elderly housing rents. They would have appreciated a heads up to give them reasoning behind, etc., and a bit of background so that, you know, they could offer some wraparound support for those people. We understand that that's being led by Ministry of Social Development. Will be available for discussing grants and hardships for them. So I'd like to think that staff could come back with some clarity around that for community board members so that they can then be able to take that to the community. So that basically covers, I don't know, a community board. You obviously all know that I've stood back from the local Water Done Well governance group and in favour of Deputy Mayor Shane taking up that post. And I think that that's a good move. I think that Shane brings an enormous amount of expertise and balance to the table. I also like to think that it balances the gender slightly from our perspective as well. So I'm more than happy to have stepped down from that group. Reserve Subcommittee and Governance, we've had Shane's given us a pretty good background in that, and as the governance representative on that across all the districts, I'm really pleased that we're starting to get our head around how a unified approach looks district-wide, covering off all of those issues that we've identified. And not the least of them is the health and safety management issues of these things, so that these all get a comprehensive health and safety wrapped around them, and also things like emergency management in the case of something has happened up at Mount Maunganui. We need to have action plans, etc., in place so that they all we don't face issues such as that. So that's me. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, councillor, and thank you for the work that you contributed to Local Water Done Well while you're on that committee. It's much appreciated. Okay, Councillor Sampson, the Regional Transport. Did you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Sorry.
Through the chair, just regarding the pensioner rents, maybe if Chrissy could update, because it was about June last year, the previous council discussed, letters were given to all those, and I'm asking, it was to be followed through, that anybody that needed help in applying for the extension to their benefits was done. So through the chair, could I ask if that has been done, please?
Yeah, Chrissy.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson, through the chair. We were hoping that Ministry of MSD was able to go with us to the visits when we discussed these. Unfortunately, due to staffing capacity, they weren't able to do that, but there was a letter that went out to the tenants when we saw them in the last few weeks, outlining the support available, and they've also made themselves available for some drop-in session for tenants as well. So I know that there was additional care, noting that they are vulnerable in our community and we do have a high duty of care with them. So there was additional support offered through MSD, which is still available for them. And staff have said that they're happy to liaise with them directly if any further support is needed.
Okay, thank you, Chrissy.
Sorry, in reply to that, so really my my point being that the community board feel that some information around what's happening and implications and options for people, because the community board, community board is the interface to council for these people. So a lot of them approach community board members And that would then help them to be able to progress with MSD.
Thank you, councillor Chrissy.
Noted. Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, councillor Sampson.
On
Transport.
regional transport, thank you for the replies back on the submission to speed limits. And thanks to the staff who actually got the submissions away. So thank you on that. But these meetings are only held quarterly, so it's nothing to update except it's one in April that happens to be in the middle of our day of meetings on Wednesday. The guy, whatever his name, Max, I think, suggested that they change it so I could go, but he forgot to do that. And even to Zoom in, it's not possible because I'll be travelling.
Are those meetings recorded at all? Are the meetings recorded?
I'll follow that through.
Okay.
I'll wait till I get the agenda and, yep.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, now economic development, we've got about 4 names beside this because you're all involved. But Tony, we'll give you an opportunity to speak to. Yeah, I'm just giving Tony an opportunity to speak to any of the subjects, the community committee, or as she did last time.
Yeah, thanks. Just around the community committee, Shane and Dave have covered all that, and I'm just feeling really great that we're actually knuckling down and getting an action list and working towards some of the issues that we've had over the last few years with not having a CESC. So yeah, that's going great, and I'm happy that we're working through just to ultimately support our subcommittees as well as all our volunteers. Around the subcommittees that I represent, Mokanui is about to start. They're prepping for their new septic AED field, which is going to be quite large. Also around a new donated playground from Mickey Adams to Mokanui as well, which we're sort of in the early stages. And it's amazing that he's stashed this playground in his yard for months from St. Canis' school. So we're very, very lucky about that. And civil defence, we didn't meet today. Just Janice was, they're working together on the bit of a fuel crisis at the moment. So I haven't got any civil defence information to update with. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Any questions for Tony? Okay, Colin, the same courtesy to you. Is there anything you would like to cover separately?
In relation to what, sorry, Mr. Mayor?
In relation to the water done well, or finance, or any other thing that you may choose in terms of a verbal update, the things you're involved in.
I'm a bit lost, to be honest with you, because of my
yeah, we've discussed water done well. All I'm doing is giving you the opportunity to.
On the agenda item I've got on here, it doesn't tell me about the.
No, that's fine. We'll move on then.
I'm not prepared. I wasn't prepared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's fine. Okay, councillor Curnow.
Yeah, the Economic Development Working Group has had one meeting, sort of canvassed a series of issues. We had a presentation from Paul and Simon. We invited Gary Howard from the Buller rep on DWC along, and he's sort of given us a progress report and introduced us to the strategic plan for DWC. We're probably going to have Gary as a standing agenda item for that committee, but the next meeting is next Wednesday, and Phil Rossiter will come along to talk about the 2050 strategy and probably other stuff as well. And in the interest of transparency, certainly take Chrissy's point. I'm looking forward to that group presenting a written report to council meetings so that there is some kind of line of communication to our public.
Thanks, Frank. Deputy Mayor.
Just on that meeting, because it is a chance for us to discuss, because Gary did send it through as a chance for us to discuss DWC strategy and trustee. And it was discussed that all councillors should be invited to that meeting, to have that opportunity, rather than just the ones on the ED. And so I just want to make sure that if that invite does go out, that it does clarify that that first hour, all councillors, I mean, all councillors can attend it all, but that is what it's about, and everybody is invited to it.
Just to confirm the timing, it won't be the first hour, because Gary can't make it till 12, so the idea would be to do it and then straight into talking
Gary
to.
wasn't attending the first
I know,
first
but
discussion.
he's there the last half hour of the session.
You talk about the session with Phil.
And not to optimise
No.
councillor travel time, so that comes to the meeting afterwards.
Yeah, to be clear, the discussion is for Phil to present the overarching, or this is what the discussion I had was, Phil was going to present the overarching strategy. And then we had the opportunity as councillors to say what we would like to see in a strategy, and actually what we would like to see perhaps in the trust deed, what changes we think need to be made. And so for that opportunity, it was just a round table.
Thanks.
So Caitlin, can you just follow up and make sure that all councillors have an invite to that meeting at 10 o'clock next Wednesday? Not just the working group members, but all councillors. Is that possible?
Great, thanks, Ray. Okay, Paul, you're on the Westport Rating Joint Committee, which Phil has spoken to, and the Economic Development Working Group. Having said that, is there anything you would like to add?
Questions to the Westport Rating District Committee, which I got yesterday to say they thought they were valuable enough to present to the committee meeting. Thank you, Dave. So they're going to incorporate those questions into an answer to all committee members, and they're also going to go back and find the questions that were put to them by me last August, which they've not responded to, and that'll be in that publication to members at the next meeting, which I believe is in June.
Thanks, Paul. And nothing on the economic development. Ray's covered that off. Nothing to add. Okay, great, thank you. That brings to an end the verbal updates. Thank you for that. Is that sorry? Yeah. Okay, so the draft recommendation that the council receive verbal updates from the following elected members. I move that we accept that. Seconded by Tony O'Keefe. Any discussion? All those in favour? Those against? That's passed. Thank you. Okay, public forum responses. First, we'll talk about Gary's pamphlet that he left us with is very professionally presented, that's for sure. And I think we talked about Gary coming along to the Economic Development Group as well. So I'd like to suggest that I go back and acknowledge Gary's attendance and what he presented to us today. And again, encourage him to keep us well briefed and look to us to support the O'Connor home wherever we can. Has anybody got any other suggestions? Okay, we'll move on to Kevin Smith. Suggestions? Comments? Oh.
I did note that he's got a quote from Newman that all spoil will be dumped in accordance with the consent. That is incorrect. There's also an answer from council to a letter to the editor saying compliant with the consent. That also is not correct. So there's some issues there that probably should be heard by Ray.
Okay, but correct me if I'm wrong, but his presentation was on receiving responses rather than individual items. Is that correct?
That's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the response he got, which isn't correct. So he actually sent there were two files in his letter that he sent to councillors. And the one there's a response from Paul Newman, is it?
I don't know, that,
Which
that,
I've read,
came,
I've read the consent and I disagree, but
that came in, I think, just a few minutes before the meeting or an hour or so. I haven't seen it.
I think it was while we're at the meeting. I read it at the meeting, yeah. So you had a response, and you're saying the response wasn't correct, and I agree, it's not correct. So that's where there's the lack of transparency. It's an issue that should be dealt with.
On that specific issue, council is correct. So I don't think, in terms of responding to Kevin's some presentation, I don't think that's the relevant issue, but it is that the letter's been responded with, correct?
I've written through, Mr. Chair, I've written to the regional council saying, has council complied with its consent? And they've written back to me and saying they're meant to advise us 12 months in advance where they're going to be purging, where they're going to be dumping, and they haven't done that. And that's a condition of the consent. So it's very blatant that there was no notification from council.
Okay, understand the points you're raising. I think I put that over to Simon to make a comment. Not responded. You responded. Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I've got no idea what we're all talking about. I haven't received anything from Kevin. He just, from my perspective, he just came up with the same old. I've minimal response required from you in my view.
Thanks, Councillor Curnow.
Well, my understanding is that he's suggesting that when letters are written to the local newspaper, there's often not a response given by council staff or maybe the mayor, whereas in the past it was practice. It was the accepted practice that a response would be provided. Look, it's just part of the process of local democracy. I think it is worthwhile communicating back to letter writers through the local newspaper. It's not the only means of communicating with the public, but it is one way that we can communicate our position. So I would like to see some more thought given to responding to letters to the editor rather than just a blanket refusal. I know there are other ways of gaining information, but often this is a relatively straightforward, inexpensive way of communicating with our public. So I would recommend that we review that process.
Are you suggesting, councillor, that all letters to the editor should be responded to?
No, I'm not suggesting all letters to the editor, but I think there are cases where an effort could be made at a greater frequency than what's happening now to respond.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm not proposing that this be a great workload on council staff or indeed on yourself, Mr. Mayor, because it may be that you are the appropriate person to respond to letters to the editor in some cases. Where possible, I'd like to see that effort made.
Thanks, councillor. Okay, any other comments? I'll discuss this with Simon and staff, pull something together, see how we can put a response to that. And I'll circulate that to you guys to have a look at. Okay, so agenda item 10, public excluded reports. The draft recommendation is that the public be excluded from the following parts of proceedings of this meeting. Agenda item 10.1, the Mokanui Campground Effluent System Tender Report. The reasons for confidentiality, Lagoima section 7(2), subject to sections 6, 8 and 17. The section applies if and only if withholding of information is necessary to enable any local authority holding the information to carry on without prejudice, disadvantage negotiations, including commercial and industrial negotiations. Agenda item 10.2 is the Punakaiki water supply. Reasons again for confidentiality, Lagoima section 7, again subject to section 6, 8 and 17. The section applies to, and G, maintain legal professional privilege. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor, Deputy Mayor, seconder? councillor O'Keefe. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favour? Those against? Thank you. The motion is carried. Okay, with that, that brings to a conclusion this meeting. Thanks to everybody online. Thanks to staff and the news and all those who have contributed today. We'll close the meeting at 18, sorry.